Yep. Well, Scott, so from one martial artist to another, I go back to Billy Blanks and Jackie and Jet Li and everything. So when I see your films, I'm like, man, Scott and, obviously Donnie Yen and I can't remember the guy from the raid. You guys are the last of everybody that's kicking butt with everything. Congratulations on your career. You give hope to the industry because there's not a lot of people left really doing what you guys are doing. What say you?
No, there isn't, is there? I love the fact that you've name checked Billy Blanks. Loving that. Yeah,
Yeah,
legend.
he was, when I started fighting in college, he was my sensei. I took,
Really?
Tang Sudo and then Agawan Kempo. And then when I came to California and he was there, I didn't know he's going to start with Tybal and everything like that, but I was back in the day with everything. And then we
Yeah.
get to where everybody's age, working with Van Damme on Death War and Lionheart and things like that. That's when I decided I didn't want to be an actor. I wanted to be on this side. So my job is to help promote all what you guys are doing, but understanding the dedication that goes in because in the junket world, I think there's two of us in the world of martial arts, only two of us in the world of wrestling. So you can imagine how everything is start off. So I always want to make sure that you get your due because you worked your ass off doing all this stuff. And congratulations. And I just love seeing anything that you're in.
Oh, thanks, Brian. I appreciate it, mate. Yeah, look, I'm inspired by those guys that you mentioned before, and I'm just trying to keep it all alive. I love those 90s action martial arts films, and that's what I'm trying to do, really. That's what I'm trying to bring to the audience.
Well, you're not trying to do it. You're actually doing it. You brought it back, and like I said, I know the dedication that goes into doing those because I can't do this stuff anymore. In my mind, I'm thinking I can, but I can't. I'm 65 now, and I'm like thinking, thank God for Scott and everybody that the few that are there because the audience loves seeing those films. You go back to John Wick 4, you go back to what you're doing, when your career first started, and Diablo, which we'll get into later, which I loved. But Prisoner of War, talk about this because this was great. I'm running out of things to see anytime I'm cross country because not everybody has the same streaming services, on demand or things like that. And my job is to make sure people go to the theaters and see these things because that's where they're supposed to be seen. So when you have something like Prisoner of War, I'm like, my God, how old is this guy? He's man, his body's held up. Good for him. Talk about your regiment and just putting into the story because the story is great.
Well, yeah, thanks, man. I try to keep in shape, try to train at least 5 days a week
Wow.
when I'm at home not working. I wake up and if the kids are going to school, I'll take them to school, and the first thing I do is go to the gym. That way, there's no escape. I'm there. I'm going to get some training done, whether it's with the weights or whether it's kickboxing or whatever. Um, and yeah, just as I get older, got to keep the body mobile and nimble and loose. You tend to tighten up quicker. Um, but yeah, I think I'm in good shape and I love it, man. Look, I couldn't think of anything worse than not being able to do what I love to do, which is make martial arts action films. And time is a factor. Nobody can outsmart Father Time.
No.
But I'll do it for as long as I can. And look, I am getting older, and as I get older, those movies will evolve. They'll still be action films, but probably I won't be doing the double backflips. But I'll always have that right cross and a quick left high kick.
What's happening. The reason I really love this story and Diablo is because it's the intensity, it's the stories. If you don't have the story, as you know, it's not going to work. You can have everything else going on and make it still look good, but you got to have that story, right?
Yes, that's the most important thing. If you can have some great fight scenes, but at the end of the day, if you don't have a good story, then you're not really bothered about the fight. You don't care who wins or loses. You're not invested in the story. So whatever. You can watch it for a bit of eye candy, but
Yeah.
the best case scenario is that you're engaged in the story and that then we give you some pulse pounding fight sequences and then you're really into it.
For the audience that hasn't seen this yet, just tell them a little bit about your character, and then we'll go into how do you keep everything in shape because today's world, the food has changed. When you're traveling around the world, I mean, you know, coming from the world of fitness, you got to eat clean still, and it's not easy as you get older. Arnold will tell you that. Sly will tell you that. Even Jackie Chan and Jet, who's retired now, will tell you that. They do the best, but we can't, as you said, Father Time will always beat us, right?
Yeah, well, with the film, basically, it's a movie about a guy who's, well, from the trailer, you might think, how does this white guy know how to do martial arts? So that's the first thing to clear up. He grew up in the streets of Hong Kong, the son of a wealthy English businessman. Didn't have a good relationship with his father and went running rampant on the streets of Hong Kong, learning martial arts, traveling around Asia, bit of a pilgrim in that way. And then when his father died, father was a war hero, and he decides to go back to the motherland, England, and enlist in the RAF. And he finds himself behind enemy lines in a Japanese prisoner of war camp, where the general of the camp is a martial arts expert, karate, and he likes to train his men in the empty hand technique of karate, and he likes to test out the techniques on the American POWs or the Filipino POWs. And then when my character comes along, I start kicking the crap out of some of those men. And rather than put a bullet in my head or chop my head off to make an example of me, he has to get me in the ring with everyone watching and have one of his men defeat me by hand. And it's a real struggle between these two characters. He wants to break me physically and mentally. And it's a real sort of survival movie, World War II POW film with a lot of action martial arts. On to the next thing about food. um,
It's
yeah,
important these
there's some
days
crap.
because
There's some crap food out there. There's some crap food
exactly.
out there. Yeah, you can't avoid all of it. Let's be honest, especially if you're traveling around. But I think you just got to try and eat organic and eat clean and eat whole foods and just stay away from the processed stuff. You can't stay away from all the bad stuff. And sometimes it's nice to reward yourself with some sneaky bad stuff.
You could have your
Uh,
cheat day.
yeah, have a little bit of poison just sometimes so that it keeps you ready for it. But yeah, just got to eat clean and look after yourself, and just don't think about dieting. Think about, I want to eat healthily because I want to be a healthy individual that's eating quality food.
Yeah, you were talking about that was the get for me was that story. He came from the streets, and the old world of martial arts was always about respect. And that's
Yeah,
the whole thing about that, and that's where the story starts to get interesting because it's believable. It is true. These things have happened like that, and when they see that white guy or that black guy being like that in that Asian
yeah.
culture,
A
it
Westerner
is
in the
that.
40s knowing martial arts obviously is unusual. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah,
And then they're like, "What? Who's this guy?" No, this is no. He doesn't know. He doesn't know our world. We'll show him. And so you love it when you can see that sign of respect. That's really what it is. You can have those. You can be in competition. You can be enemies. But if you're not respecting your opponent, like in the old days, right? Then you're in trouble, right?
yeah. We have this technique in the film, the iron palm. A little bit mystical, a little bit, but actually, the director Louis Mandylor, he's a brilliant martial artist himself,
Mhm.
and he used to train in LA with a guy called Winston Omega, and they
Mhm.
used to hit the iron, iron chain and the iron bag and the metal ball and everything. He built up the calluses on his
Yeah.
fist and on his
Yeah.
forearms and his shins. Um, and Lewis has seen like some stuff from this guy that was like real, we're talking like chi energy and that sort of stuff. And we incorporate that into this film. And somebody might watch it thinking, oh, that's a little bit woo woo, a little bit out there. But no, it's legit. As far as Lewis tells me, this is a reality. And so my character does know the iron palm.
Well, your character is going to know that because, especially if you grew up in the streets of Hong Kong like that, you're going to know a little about Jeet Kune Do and that fist. Going back to Bruce Lee's days, it's there,
Yeah.
and I'm glad you put that in there. The second thing you do besides that story, put that in there because a lot of kids growing up, they're seeing the MMA world, but they're not knowing about traditional arts anymore, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's more to it. There's more to it. Obviously, the UFC is incredible at kind of like deciding like which style really works or what combination of style really works. But at the end of the day, there's rules, there's gloves, there's certain things you can't do. There's a lot of other things out there that people need to think about too.
Why would people come out and support to see Prisoner of War in your view? Because I love this film.
Look, it's an old school action movie made in the spirit of the late 80s, 90s, when you had action stars that actually could fight doing the fighting, legitimate action guys. That's what I like to think of myself as. So you're seeing guys that actually know how to fight, do the fighting. And, it's like it's another action martial arts film, but in a different genre. For me, anyway, it's like, okay, let's make a World War II set movie, but I always want to deliver with the action, as my fans know. But it's not just about the fights. Of course, we've got a good, intelligent story with a lot of gravitas, a lot of care and attention put into the script, and I think it's just a good story with good action.
It is, and I have to get into Diablo. I saw Diablo a couple months ago at Lionsgate. I said, "Oh my God, this is Scott's best film." You keep outdoing yourself, which is incredible. And I was like, "Wow," because I'm still posting stuff from that. I'm like, "Oh, Scott wasn't there at the red carpet. I know he's busy working someplace." So I've got to get you to talk about that because that was a great film that I'm still talking about. That a lot of people haven't seen that one.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it. Had a lot of help from Marco Zaror, obviously. He's a
Mhm.
great martial artist. He designed all the action. His good friend Ernesto was the director. I sort of like mined Marco and his relationship with Ernesto and did a film with those guys. Very, very proud of that film. Very happy with how it turned out. We got the same DP on Prisoner of
Mhm.
War, Niccolo de la Fere. He's fantastic. But yeah, again, it's like an old school gritty action martial arts film that you would have got in the 90s. I loved all that stuff. I still watch that stuff now. I just want to keep. I just want to make the films that I like, and that's what I'm trying to do.
And you're doing it, and congratulations to you because I'm paying attention, and I'm always telling people because you might not have on demand, you got to go see it in the theaters. There's nothing still like seeing it on the big screen. But also, if you can't make it to that, support the artist because you guys work hard at your craft, and I always want to make sure the audience is aware of that because if you weren't a martial art, if you didn't grow up in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and where you are now, because I think there's only three, five of you are really what you're doing. That's not enough how it used to be. But to keep everything going, my hat goes out to you because right now I see you, you're one and two of there. And we want to see more of that. It's unfortunate, but you can only do so much because that's like I said, father time, right?
Well, yeah, I'll keep going. I'll keep doing my best. What about Michael Jai White though? He's got a few years on me. He's not slowing down. He looks
No,
amazing
he's
still.
he's not. But
Yeah,
when I see Michael, he's hanging out with his wife. I saw him at the Hall of Fame at Mr. Olympia last year. I'm like, Michael, he's still working out. Obviously, he is, but
yeah.
yeah, it's just a matter of it's almost like they cut back in making martial arts films.
They
Um,
have, yeah, they have.
and that's what I didn't like because when I came from the world of home video, they did great. And they still do great because the market is there and the audience is there. And I just want people to realize that it's still there.
I think people get their martial arts quota from these comic book movies, and
Yeah, yeah.
there's a lot of martial. There's more martial arts than there ever was in pop culture and in movies, but they're not necessarily martial arts films because they're just putting like fight scenes in the comic book movies and everything. But and of course, you can get it's just a bunch of stuntmen doing it for whoever the actor is playing the superhero. But I think it's nice to see the legit guys that can actually do it.
Absolutely. I got two questions, last ones for you. Seeing Donnie Yen out there and his team all the time just keeps me going. And just knowing, what do you have coming up next for the audience and how do they keep in contact with you on social media when you're not working?
But just follow me on social media, the Scott Adkins, Instagram. I'm not that prolific on it anymore, to be honest. But I've got film coming out with Eco Oasis, Skylines, Warpath, the end of this year maybe, and then yeah, there's loads of stuff coming out. Don't worry.
Well, Scott, I gotta thank you for this and stay healthy because we need you. The audience loves seeing you. I know because I'm talking to them around the country, and I love helping promote. And just because something's come out and people may have missed it in the theaters, you can catch up with it other places. So I always want to make sure, and I keep track of those cities. And depending what streaming service is on, I'm always reminding the audience every Tuesday on our live shows about that. So I want to thank you, Scott, for this, because again, you become one of my idols, because as an old martial artist, there's not enough of you around anymore. I look at my old friend Jean Claude. I'm like, Jean, what are you doing? You can't do your splits anymore. Well, he kind of can, but still.
Well, I'll keep doing my best, mate. I don't take it for granted.
I know
And
you
I'll
don't, and that's
keep
why I
training
like you.
hard.
Yeah,
Yeah, keep training hard. I love to train. I've just built a gym in my house. I'm training every day, mate. I'm ready. I'm staying ready. Ready for the
you
next
have
one.
to be. The world has changed, hasn't it? That's why it's so fun to see what you're doing, because the world has changed. It's like, oh, I think I could still do that. What Scott did. My mind says it. My body's thinking, yeah, I don't think so. Leave all that to Scott.
You can do it, mate. You can do it.
Thank you so much, Scott. And I'll keep pushing your films and everything like that, like we do, because unfortunately, there's not enough of us that do that and understand the world. But it's still important, because once you put something on the screen, it's there forever. And that's why I always tell people, much success to you and to your body, because we need you. Thank you so much, Scott. All right.
Thanks a lot, Brian. Good chat. Thanks,
Yeah.
mate.
Yeah.
Okay.